We've lived in Rancho, Cordova since 1989, 22 years.
I've lived at my apartments for 6 years.
Been here for 21 years.
I grew up here, and I've lived here till a few years ago.
But I grew up out here.
The reason I moved to Rancho Cordova is because the price was right in my budget, you know, for the decent home.
When we first moved here, when we looked in other areas like the Fair Oaks area and Arden, we kind of were priced out of some of those areas as far as being able to buy a house.
Home prices are lower than most parts of Sacramento.
It's mostly represented by the number of apartments like along Coloma and Folsom in this area here.
Couldn't tell you the number of units, but just by driving around, I get the sense that there is an awful lot of affordable housing in Rancho Cordova.
Apartments are fairly reasonable, and there's a lot of lower-income housing already in the city.
So a lot of low-income actually got built here, you know. And
I really think Rancho Cordova does need to focus on more affordable housing and clean up the neighborhoods by keeping it affordable.
The homes are kind of run down, and the neighborhoods look run down.
You don't want substandard housing in your community that's detracting from the local property values and, you know, bringing the other neighborhoods down.
Instead of spending too much time in the new areas where it's priced out everybody, they forgot about all the rest of us in the older sections.
I think people who might consider living in Rancho Cordova would look, you know, at businesses that might be run down or apartments that might be run down and might decide not to move to this area because of that.
I think, you know, affordable housing is a two-edged sword.
You have all these people on low-income housing and welfare, etc., that are just, you know, packed into these small areas, you know, and so they do what they do. They're forced to survive.
Generally, there's a lot of low-income apartments, and you know, with it, I think there's a lot of crime.
I think it just perpetuates the situation where.
I think the benefit is that you know, young families that perhaps don't have a real high income, that can't afford to buy a home, want to find a community that they can raise their children in, that have a lot of the amenities like the parks, schools within walking distance, bike trails, the American River. It's a great bargain for families.
Very strong on affordable housing. You have your seniors, you have, you know, for instance, I'm unemployed, so my wife is the only income and we're not on any assistance. You know, luckily we have an affordable apartment.
I mean, I think there'll always be a need for more. I don't think that'll ever stop.
I think we should have affordable housing for everybody.
There are a lot of real nice young families that can't afford to buy a house and want to rent an apartment and raise their children in a small community.
Working with property owners, apartment owners, and improving the facilities, the infrastructure, landscaping, so that Rancho is more desirable.